everyone. So we are going to move on to comparing and ordering fractions with decimals and percents. So let's get busy. We have one vocabulary word, and that's least common denominator. So the least means smallest. Common means the same. Denominator, which is the bottom number on a fraction. You'll see it to reference as LCD, is the smallest multiple of two or more fractions. That they have in common. All right, so as a refresher, you guys have been doing factors and multiples since at least 4th grade. So I need to refresh your memory on how to find a multiple of a number. All right, so to find a multiple of a number, oh goodness gracious. You're just going to list multiples. So if I have 4 and 8 as my denominators on fractions, I want to list the multiples for 4 and 8. Till I find one that's in common, that's the smallest number. All right, so I'm just going to go down the line. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. I could stop right there, but I'm not going to. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5, you get the picture. 8. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. So already I can see I have common multiples. Circle them. So I have 8 is a common multiple of 4 and 8. So that's going to be my LCD, my common multiple, or my least common multiple is 8. All right, so that's how you find the multiple of a number. Now let's put that into play with fractions. All right, so let's assume that I have these two fractions. So to find the LCD of 2 or more fractions. Okay, first step is just going to list the multiples. So I have 1/2, 9/10, and 3/5. And I'm going to list the multiples of 2, 5, and 10 till I have common multiples. So 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, 8, 10. I can probably stop there because I see 10 is already here. Multiples of 5, 5, 10. Oh, I have another 10. 10 times 1 is 10. 10 times 2 is 20. Okay, so I do have least common multiple is 10. So step 1, list multiples. Okay, now what I do with that information, in order to compare or order fractions, I have to use this LCD in order to find common denominators. All right, so for the same numbers, let's say I have 1/2, 9/10, and 3/5. My LCD is 10. So I need to convert all of these over to a denominator of 10. All right, and I do that by lining them up and changing them to the denominator. All right, so how do I get from 2 to 10? I multiply by 5, and what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. Okay, so 1/2 is now 5/10. 9/10 is going to stay the same because we already have 10. And then 3/5 to 10. So 5 times what equals 10? Good. And what I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 3 times 2 is 6. So I have 5/10, 9/10, and 6/10. And then I can just put them in order, right? 5/10 is smallest, 6/10 is next, 9/10 is the biggest. Okay, so that's how you order fractions. You just change the denominator using the least common denominator till they all have the same denominator, and then you can put them in order. All right, so what if you have a question that's asking you to compare a decimal and a fraction? All right, so I'll do your question for you. What do I do if asked to compare a, oops, that's an A, decimal or percent to a fraction? Well, the most important thing to remember on this is I must make them into the same form. I cannot compare apples and oranges, right? I can only compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So I have to make them into the same form. So let's say my question was compare 3/4 to 0.7. So I could do this a couple of ways. I could convert the fraction to a decimal, or I can convert the decimal to a fraction. So I know that 3/4 is 0.75 because I know my quarters. So I can compare 0.75 to 0.7 and then be able to order it, right? 0.75 is greater than 0.7. But let's say you were asked to do it as a fraction. Okay, so I'm going to leave 3/4 the way it is, and I'm going to make 7/10 7/10. Now I need to find the multiples of 4 and 10. So 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 5 is 20. Oh, 10 can be divided by 20, so I'm going to stop there. 10 times 1 is 10, 10 times 2 is 20. I have common multiples, 20 and 20. So I'm going to make those into fractions. So now I'm going to go 3/4 to 20, and then 7/10 to 20. So 4 times what equals 20? 5. And what I do to the bottom, I must do to the top. 10 can go into 20 2 times. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So I have 14 20ths and 15 20ths. So therefore 3/4 is greater than 7/10. Okay, so it doesn't matter which way you turn it as long as you turn it into the same form. Compare fractions to fractions, or decimals to decimals, or percents to percents. All right, let's do a couple practice problems and then we'll be all done with this lesson. All right. Let's do compare 5/6 to 3/4. All right, so 5/6, 3/4, first step, list my multiples. So multiples of 6, multiples of 4. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12, 4 times 4 is 16. Oh, 12 can be divided by 6, so I'm going to stop there. 6 times 1 is 6, 6 times 2 is 12. Here I have my common multiple, circle them. Now I'm going to convert my fractions to this decimal, or I'm sorry, to this common denominator. So I have 5/6 that I need to get to 12ths and 3/4 that I need to get to 12ths. So 6 times what is 12? Good. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. 4 times what is 12? What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So 10 12ths and 9 12ths. Well, I know that 10 is bigger than 9, so 5/6 then is greater than 3/4. All right, let's try something with a percent. All right, I want to compare 7% to 7/10. All right, 7%, oops, reset. 7%, 7/10. Okay, I can't compare them because percent is different than a fraction, so I need to convert one. So I'm going to convert 7% to a fraction because you guys are struggling with that. So 7%, percent tells me over 100, so it's just 7 over 100 and 7/10. Okay, I have 10 and 100, which are not common denominators, so I need to make common multiples. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, oops, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Good. Some of you already knew that 100 was going to be my common denominator. So I need to go make both of these fractions into 100s. So 7 over 100 is going to stay the same because my denominator is 100. Sorry, let me circle that. Oh, my lights. All right, so 700 stays 700, and then 7/10. I need to make 200. So 10 times what is 100? 10. What I do to the bottom, I do to the top. You should have already known that this was 70 over 100 anyways, but in case you didn't. So 7/100 is less than 70/100. All right, so that should be pretty easy for you guys to play around with. Go ahead and do the knowledge check on Google Classroom, and we'll see you in the morning.